The dry, scorching morning of June 2021 began with an unusual disturbance on Carson Ridge Road, west of Reno, Nevada. 5 unmarked black FBI SUVs quietly pulled up in front of a modest 2-story house nestled in a newly built residential neighborhood. Neighbors peeked through curtains as tactical-clad agents fanned out, surrounding the area, their internal radios crackling with short, urgent bursts. Inside, Owen Jameson, 46, a former college football star once admired across the state, was brewing his morning coffee, a habit he'd kept since his ex-wife Nicole Browning vanished without a trace in 2005. The knock came at exactly 6:18 a.m. Owen Jameson, FBI. We have a warrant for your arrest in connection with the Browning, Goldner disappearance. Agents later described how Owen's hand trembled slightly as he set down his coffee mug, yet his eyes remained strangely calm, as if he had long known this morning would come. Before diving deeper into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the latest cases. Summer 2005 in Nevada was still a land of stark contrast between the dazzling lights of Las Vegas and the sun-scorched desert strips stretching to the horizon. Henderson, the rapidly expanding town south of the city, where brand-new housing developments rose beside dusty, unfinished roads, had become a symbol of the state's transformation. Daytime temperatures regularly topped 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but nights dropped sharply, with desert winds sweeping over the new rooftops, draping the area in an eerie stillness. Against that backdrop, Nicole Browning, a local TV station sports reporter, was packing up the final days of her crumbling marriage. She planned to leave Henderson once the house was cleared out, severing her last tie to her ex-husband Owen Jameson, the former state football hero turned small gym owner, living alone on the edge of town. On the afternoon of August 22nd, Nicole left the station with her co-worker and close friend Ryan Goldner. She told a few people she was stopping by the old house to pick up some boxes still left in the garage. Her silver Ford Escape pulled away from downtown as the sun began to turn red. In the quiet neighborhood where Owen lived, a few neighbors saw Nicole and Ryan get out of the car and talk to Owen in the front yard. The porch light illuminated the 3 faces for a moment before darkness swallowed the dusty street. After that moment, no one ever saw Nicole again. She didn't show up for work the next morning, her phone went dead, and her car never returned home. Her family, after hours of waiting and calling every hospital, finally walked into the Henderson Police Department to report Nicole Browning was missing. The report was filed that same morning, as the desert's first sunlight spilled over the sandy roads outside headquarters. The desk officer took detailed statements from her mother when Nicole left. What car she drove, what she was wearing, her usual contact habits. The information was passed to Lieutenant Don Harver, the detective in charge of missing persons cases in the area. Harver was the quiet type who had handled dozens of disappearances in the desert around Henderson, but Nicole's file immediately stood out. Nothing about her profile fit the typical voluntary disappearance. She had a stable job, no history of depression, firm moving plans, and stayed in regular contact with colleagues. Harver ordered an official case file opened, coded missing person, MP0-5121, Nicole Browning, and formed an initial investigation team. The first task was to verify her entire timeline on her last known day. Investigators pulled records from the TV station confirming Nicole left the building at 5:48 p.m. with Ryan Goldner. Downtown traffic cameras captured her silver Ford Escape heading west through Henderson before disappearing from view. The tech team pinged her cell carrier. Results showed her phone stopped transmitting shortly after 9 p.m., with the last signal near the neighborhood where Owen Jameson lived. Harver called Owen directly. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. Owen said Nicole had come by to pick up things from the garage and left completely normally. When asked about the man with her, Owen said he saw Ryan, but didn't know where he went after that. Harver logged every word, time-stamped the call, and ordered a canvass of the neighborhood for private cameras or additional witnesses. Within hours, a detailed description of Nicole was completed, Female, 34 years old, 5'6", brown hair, driving a silver Ford Escape, last seen in the West Ridge neighborhood of Henderson. Her photo and license plate were entered into the statewide system and pushed to patrol units on Highway 582 and the 215 loop, the route connecting Henderson to Red Rock Canyon. An alert went out to local radio stations. In the office, Harver marked key locations on the map: Nicole's apartment, her route, Owen's house, and the desert boundary. Red markers formed a short, straight line that abruptly vanished into empty land. He recognized that gap was also the limit of surveillance technology at the time. No signs of foul play yet, but no evidence she left voluntarily either. Harver's first report note read, "Status disappearance of undetermined cause, next actions, sweep Henderson. Red Rock route, verify witness statements, further check Ryan Goldner's timeline." He signed the official case open at 10:12 a.m., checked the active case box in red, then stared out the window at the thick dust, kicked up by desert winds in the parking lot. The first hint of a missing person case no one in the department then imagined would drag on for years. Minutes after the case officially opened, Lieutenant Don Harver called an emergency briefing in the Henderson PD war room to launch the search plan. Based on Nicole Browning's final cell ping and verified timelines, the primary search zone was narrowed to the stretch of land running from West Ridge Homes to the desert edge bordering Red Rock Canyon, about 10 miles west of downtown. The police rapid response team and local SAR units were mobilized that same afternoon. 16 officers, 3 patrol units, 2 off-road vehicles, and 1 observation helicopter were deployed, joined by nearly 50 local volunteers, most Henderson residents, who knew Nicole from her TV work. Harver divided the map into 3 expanding search rings: the neighborhood, low hills, and open desert. The initial goal was to sweep every road Nicole might have taken, from the station to Owen's house and westward. Police checked rest stops, gas stations, and convenience stores along the route. But no one had seen her after she left Owen's place. The helicopter flew grids over Red Rock Canyon as harsh sunlight washed out visibility, spotting only tire tracks lost in dry sand. On the ground, search teams moved slowly along dirt roads leading into the desert, each person carrying GPS and radios. Midday temperatures topped 104 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing rotating shifts. Harver set up a temporary command post in a parking lot near Highway 159, with field tents, duty rosters, and maps updated hourly. SAR dogs tracked scent from Nicole's personal items, but heat and wind scattered traces fast, yielding nothing. The helicopter's first report found no crashed or overturned vehicle or large anomalies in the survey area. Highway Patrol reviewed intersection cameras on the 215, but most were old and many malfunctioned. Within the first 48 hours, searchers covered nearly 20 square miles, combing every road and small canyon around Henderson with no results. Updated maps filled with symbols marking cleared zones. Harver expanded the radius another 5 miles southwest, to the edge of Red Rock Canyon Conservation Area, where terrain grew rugged with rock crevices, deep ravines, and abandoned quarries. Off-road teams brought climbing gear, flashlights, and metal detectors to check every crevice. One team found faint SUV tire impressions in the dry sand, but they were too shallow to date or trace direction. Everything was photographed and logged, though reports noted no definitive forensic value. Time slipped away under the desert heat and growing fatigue. By day 3, Harver held a summary briefing at the command post. On the whiteboard, red circles nearly covered the entire Henderson, Red Rock area. Yet the biggest blank spot remained a stretch of desert too rough to access fully. He weighed requesting help from Nevada Highway Patrol and the National Park Service, knowing each passing day lowered the odds of finding anyone alive. Still, the search continued. Evenings brought teams back to base to log every tiny detail: a broken piece of plastic, a faint tire mark, a depression in the sand, all numbered and filed for later review. Harver reviewed every entry, crossed off duplicates, then looked at the map gradually blacked out with markers. After 3 straight days of searching, he made the interim call: no physical trace, no vehicle or body located. Need to shift tactics. But at that moment, none of the searchers realized they had been standing very close to where the real story actually began. After 3 straight days of searching with no results, Lieutenant Don Harver decided to shift the investigation's focus back to the last place Nicole had been seen. On the morning of the 4th day, he and 2 detectives arrived at Owen Jameson's house in the West Ridge neighborhood. The house sat isolated at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by a low wooden fence and clumps of dry desert cactus. When the police cruiser pulled up, Owen was watering the front lawn, appearing calm and cooperative. Harver presented his credentials and informed him they were there to examine the scene as part of the missing person protocol. Owen allowed them inside, while stating he had already provided all relevant information during the previous interview. The 2-story house looked neat from the outside, but felt cold and lifeless, with few signs of daily activity. The living room was sparsely furnished, with only a few old sports photos hanging on the walls. The investigators swept the entire ground floor, noting the overall layout of the furniture, then moved to the garage in the back, the place Nicole was supposed to have come to pick up her things. The garage door was closed, the lock new, and the concrete floor was covered with fresh epoxy paint that still smelled of chemicals. One detective used a flashlight to check along the wall edges. The paint was evenly applied, with no scratches or unusual stains. When Harver asked about the recent work, Owen said he had repainted it 2 weeks earlier to seal against moisture because of the heavy summer rains. In the corner of the garage stood a tool rack, several sealed cardboard boxes, and a dusty road bike. There were no personal items belonging to Nicole, consistent with prior statements. Harver ordered overall photographs and measurements of the area. A security camera was mounted near the garage door, with its power cable running outside, but the indicator light was off. The tech team removed the connector and discovered the power wire had been cleanly cut, most likely during installation or removal. Owen explained the system had been broken for a long time, and he hadn't gotten around to fixing it. They checked the 2 cameras on the front of the house. Both were inoperative. The scene notes clearly stated, cameras not recording hardware failure. While the tech team worked, Harver walked around the backyard. The grass was dry, scattered with gravel. At the far end stood a low brick wall separating the property from an empty lot. He stopped when he noticed several dark paint spills on the ground near the garage door, darker than the surrounding area. When asked, Owen said it was excess paint dumped after the base coat. Harver requested a small sample for chemical analysis and marked the location on the scene diagram. Upstairs, the detectives examined the bedrooms. The master was tidy and minimalist, with no signs of disturbance. Another room contained sports trophies, old jerseys, and photos from his playing days, all carefully arranged. When asked again about the evening Nicole visited, Owen repeated his original statement. She arrived alone with a colleague. They spoke for about 15 minutes, then left. He couldn't recall the exact time because he was watching an old game replay. Harver noted every detail and compared it to the moment Nicole's cell signal disappeared. There were no obvious signs of a crime, but the timing coincidence stood out. Before leaving, the tech team completed their preliminary report. No foreign objects, no unusual odors, no signs of violence. Police sealed the paint sample and had the homeowner sign acknowledgement of cooperation. Owen agreed, signed calmly, his face expressionless. As the team drove away, Harver paused to look at the closed garage door. Sunlight reflected off the fresh paint like a smooth mirror. He added a line to his notebook: garage freshly painted, security cameras inoperable, no physical evidence of crime, continue monitoring. The cruiser rolled out of the neighborhood, desert dust rising and briefly obscuring the license plate of house number 42, West Ridge Drive, leaving behind a silent house that looked as though no one had ever visited. 2 days after the search of Owen Jameson's house, the Henderson Police Department received a call from a resident on the edge of West Ridge reporting an abandoned vehicle in the vacant lot behind the subdivision, about half a mile from the main road. The man said he spotted it early that morning while walking his dog and recognized the plate because it had been featured in local missing person bulletins. Lieutenant Don Harver immediately dispatched a crime scene team to the location. The lot was a barren stretch of red dirt with no trees, only scattered clumps of desert grass bordered by an old wooden fence. When they arrived, they found a silver Ford Escape parked at an angle off the dirt track. The driver's door was ajar, a thick layer of dust on the windows and roof indicating it had been there at least 1 or 2 days. Harver ordered a 30-meter perimeter sealed, yellow tape strung, and a central logging point established. Movement was restricted to forensics personnel only. The midday sun beat down mercilessly, the temperature over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, making the work grueling, but the technicians proceeded methodically. Overall photos of the vehicle from 4 angles, GPS coordinates, tire orientation, and tilt relative to the ground. The plate matched Nicole Browning's registered vehicle. The driver's door wasn't fully closed, the other doors were locked, interior lights off. There were no signs of collision or skid marks on the dirt. Harver had the door opened using gloved hands. Inside there was no luggage or paperwork. The driver's seat was pushed far back, the gear in park. The electrical system was dead, the battery nearly drained. Technicians tested voltage and confirmed the battery was almost completely depleted. The floor was covered in fine dust, with no signs of a struggle. The glove box contained only a few gas receipts, dated August 21st, a half-empty water bottle, and a pen engraved with the logo of the TV station where Nicole worked. Harver ordered everything bagged and sealed according to protocol. Another team searched the surrounding area, expanding the radius by 20 meters. Beneath the soft sand behind the vehicle, they found shallow tire tracks running parallel and then looping back, apparently made by the same vehicle, possibly when it was maneuvered into place. There were also several footprints mixed in the sand, faint but discernible, 2 different sizes, roughly men's 8 and men's 12. These were photographed close-up, measured, and soil samples taken. One technician collected dust from the vehicle's undercarriage, especially around the rear wheels, for mineral analysis and comparison with local Henderson geology. Each sample went into numbered evidence bags with clear labeling. After finishing the exterior, forensics examined the cargo area. No signs of forced entry. They located a small red fabric fiber, caught in the gap between the rear seat and floor, tiny but conspicuous against the gray dust. It was immediately seized with tweezers and sealed. Harver watched every step, jotting in his notebook, vehicle intact, doors not forced, no blood or direct signs of violence. He ordered the straight-line distance from the car to Owen Jameson's house measured, approximately 0.46 miles, close enough to raise unavoidable suspicion. As the sun began to drop, the work wrapped up. A flatbed tow truck arrived, and the entire loading process was filmed continuously to preserve chain of custody. The Ford Escape was transported to the Henderson PD impound lot under Harver's and the forensics team's supervision. In the scene closure report he wrote, "Location vacant lot west of West Ridge subdivision. Vehicle intact, no collision damage. 2 sizes of footprints recovered, soil and fabric samples collected. No direct evidence of crime yet." As the tow truck pulled away, desert wind kicked up fine dust that obscured the newly sealed area, leaving only the yellow tape fluttering in the late light. The first physical trace connected to Nicole Browning's disappearance. The Ford Escape was delivered to the Henderson PD impound lot late that afternoon, sealed in its original condition, and turned over to the forensics lab for detailed examination under controlled conditions. The next morning, the tech team broke the seals in the presence of Lieutenant Don Harver and 2 detectives. The vehicle was placed inside a closed warehouse with a concrete floor and stable lighting. Every action was continuously recorded. Before starting, forensics measured the entire vehicle, documented stain locations, dust adhesion, and recorded ambient temperature and humidity. High-resolution photos were taken of every angle. Plaster casts of the tire tracks from the vacant lot were brought in for comparison. Preliminary results showed the tread pattern partially matched the scene casts, though not clearly enough to determine direction of travel. Technicians concluded the vehicle had likely been moved a short distance without much turning, and then deliberately parked. Soil samples from the undercarriage were collected with electrostatic brushes and divided into 3 zones: front, mid, and rear. Initial analysis confirmed the soil composition matched the Henderson area. The sample from the right rear wheel contained unusually high iron and oxide levels, possibly from contact with ground contaminated by oil or rust. A small portion also contained distinctive red rock sand, indicating the vehicle may have recently traveled through that area. Forensics continued analyzing the footprints from the scene. The plaster casts revealed 2 sole patterns, 1 typical women's athletic shoe, medium size, and 1 large men's hiking-style boot with deep lugs. Neither was sharp enough for brand identification, but stride length and impression depth suggested both were made at roughly the same time, while the ground was still firm. Inside the vehicle, ultraviolet light revealed no biological stains on seats, gear shift or door handles, no blood or bodily fluids, magnetic powder, lifted mostly smudged, overlapping prints consistent with regular use, likely Nicole's. No new or unfamiliar prints appeared in the rear passenger area. In the driver's seat crevice, technicians recovered a long brown hair consistent with the victim's characteristics. It was collected with sterile tweezers and sealed separately. The red fiber from the scene was examined under a microscope: polyester weave, athletic fabric, one end frayed from friction, no blood or residue. Report note: common athletic clothing material, origin undetermined. The dashboard showed no pry marks. The electronic locks worked normally once power was restored. The glove box yielded 3 fuel receipts, 2 dated 8/21 at the Blue Diamond gas station, matching Nicole's known schedule, leaving the office. On the rear seat, they recovered a tiny black particle, possibly charcoal from a lighter or melted plastic, sealed for testing. The cabin smelled only of old plastic and dust, no gasoline or solvent odor. The exterior showed no scratches or collision damage. All 4 tires were properly inflated, confirming the vehicle hadn't been abandoned for long. Harver observed the entire process, noting, no signs of violence, no clear physical evidence, vehicle stationary, doors intact, contents undisturbed. He paid particular attention to the driver's seat being pushed far back, unsuitable for Nicole's build, suggesting someone else may have driven it before abandoning it. A technician checked the navigation system, but the 2003 model had no built-in GPS, only an old CD player and radio. They started the engine. It turned over smoothly with no unusual noise. The fuel gauge read half full, confirming no mechanical failure. A temporary report was completed that afternoon. Vehicle intact, no collision, no blood, no biological evidence, footprint and soil samples forwarded to lab for further analysis. Once finished, the car was covered with a tarp and resealed. Harver signed the paperwork and stood quietly looking through the dusty warehouse window as desert sunlight slanted across the floor. He knew these initial findings weren't enough to prove anything, but they opened a flood of new questions about Nicole Browning's final journey, and about whoever placed the car exactly there without leaving any clear trace of violence or resistance. When the Ford Escape examination report came back, showing no signs of violence whatsoever, Lieutenant Don Harver decided to return to the very first link in the chain, the last person known to have seen Nicole Browning alive. The next morning he summoned Owen Jameson to the Henderson Police Department for a second formal statement. Owen arrived on time, wearing a white dress shirt and jeans, calm and expressionless. The interview room was prepped with audio and video recording. Everything followed standard procedure. Harver began by confirming basics: the time Nicole arrived, the reason for her visit, and how long they spoke. Owen repeated his initial account. Nicole arrived sometime after 9 p.m. with a man named Ryan he had never met, saying she was picking up boxes from the garage. They stayed about 15 minutes and then left towards central Henderson. Harver pressed for more precise timing. Owen said he wasn't sure, because he was watching a replay of an old college game on a sports channel and wasn't checking the clock. Asked whether Nicole showed any unusual behavior or tension, Owen insisted the conversation was normal, with no argument. Harver took careful notes, then moved to technical details. He informed Owen that Nicole's cell signal had last pinged in the area of his house at approximately 21:08 and never reconnected. Owen's own phone had also lost signal during the same window for about 23 minutes. When asked why, Owen replied evenly, "Coverage is spotty out there, especially at night," with no hesitation. Harver requested Owen's phone to examine call logs, texts, and mobile data. Owen handed it over, but explained it was a new device. He had replaced the old one after dropping it in his pool 2 months earlier. He said he had thrown the old phone away. Texts confirmed the IMEI registered to his carrier was for a 2005 model phone, and usage data showed an interruption exactly during the window Nicole vanished. Harver noted it and continued questioning about the non-functioning security cameras. Owen repeated that the system had been broken since early summer and he hadn't called for repairs. When asked to provide evidence he was watching TV at the time, Owen said he no longer had the recording because it was just an old sports replay. Throughout the nearly 2-hour interview, Owen remained steady, answering concisely, showing no visible stress. Harver switched tactics several times, circling back to Owen's post-divorce relationship with Nicole. Owen said they maintained polite contact, no lingering conflict, only property matters. Regarding the man with Nicole, Owen said Ryan never came inside, just waited in the yard, and they exchanged only brief greetings. When another detective asked whether he had any idea why Nicole disappeared right after that visit, Owen shook his head and said, "I wish I knew what happened." After reviewing the recording, Harver saw no clear evasion or lies, but the timing coincidences prevented him from clearing Owen as a suspect. He ordered the tech unit to continue analyzing cell tower data for both phones. That afternoon's preliminary report showed both devices connected to the same West Ridge tower, then dropped signal within half an hour. Only Owen's phone came back online. However, 2005 technology wasn't precise enough for courtroom proof. Harver reviewed the file and considered requesting a search warrant, but concluded there was still insufficient probable cause, no direct evidence of a crime. He concluded the interview late in the day and had Owen sign the statement. Owen signed calmly and asked if he could leave. Harver nodded and said the investigation was ongoing. As Owen walked out, Harver watched, feeling as though he had just spoken to someone who had rehearsed every possible question. The day's report read, "Second interview completed. Subject cooperative, no visible stress, phone signal lost simultaneously with victim, insufficient grounds for detention." In the quiet moment afterward, Harver sat alone in the empty interview room, replaying the recording several times, pausing each time at the same spot, the faint sound of Owen's chair shifting when he said she left normally. He heard nothing else, but professional instinct kept Owen squarely on the suspect list. When Owen Jameson's interview ended, Lieutenant Don Harver returned to the coordination room to re-examine all data from the evening Nicole Browning vanished. Among the list of people who had contact with her that day, the name Ryan Goldner was flagged in red, the colleague and last person seen with her. According to Owen, Ryan had been present but never entered the house, waiting outside before they drove off. Harver immediately ordered verification of Ryan's movements on August 22. Techs pulled phone records, credit card transactions, and any vehicle location data. The quick report came back that morning. No activity from Ryan after 21:30 that day. His phone stopped connecting in southern Henderson near the Blue Diamond gas station. No new credit card charges after filling up that afternoon. The next morning, co-workers at the TV station confirmed Ryan never showed up, never called or texted. His family in Boulder City, when notified, said the last contact was at noon on the 22nd, when he said he was helping a friend pick up stuff and would be home early. Harver opened a separate missing person file for Ryan Goldner case number MP05-122, treating it as a second disappearance directly linked to Nicole's. In his summary, he wrote, "Both individuals left at the same time, same destination. Both phones lost signal within Henderson area. Strong possibility of connection." The investigation split into two tracks. One continued examining the area around Owen's house. The other focused on tracing Ryan's phone signal. The carrier provided detailed 24-hour logs. Data showed Ryan's phone followed the exact route Nicole took, from downtown Henderson to West Ridge, last pinging at 2126, near the intersection of Deer Springs and Blue Diamond, about 1.5 miles from Owen's house. The tracking team used old radio direction finding equipment to remeasure signal strength. Results matched the carrier data. Harvard sent patrol units to canvass that area. Within a 1-mile radius of the final ping, they found only a narrow dirt access road into an older subdivision, no accident signs or unusual objects. A few nearby residents said they noticed nothing unusual that night, only hearing a vehicle engine between 9 o'clock and 9:30, but couldn't identify the type. Harvard created an overlay map of Nicole's and Ryan's signals. Their paths were nearly identical until the end, where both signals vanished within minutes of each other. The analysis report stated, Ryan Goldner and Nicole Browning phones connected to West Ridge Tower 21 o'clock, 21:25, then dropped simultaneously. Only Owen Jameson device reconnected at 21:38. The information was added to the master file. Harvard called the TV station manager to confirm the relationship between the two. Management said Ryan and Nicole often worked sports segments together, were friendly, but showed no romantic involvement. They left the office together on the evening of August 22 because Ryan was helping Nicole move boxes, nothing unusual. Meanwhile, patrol reported completing checks on Ryan's vehicle, a gray Toyota Tacoma registered in Boulder City. It had not been located, and the insurance GPS tracker stopped transmitting at the same time as his phone. The data convinced Harvard the disappearances were connected. He immediately issued a statewide update, expanded the search area along the Henderson, Blue Diamond, Red Rock Canyon corridor, and requested Nevada State Police assistance with further signal analysis. That same day, a new public bulletin aired on local stations, asking for information on both individuals. In the internal report, Harvard noted, MP05-121 and MP05-122, now treated as parallel disappearances. Final signals same area, less than 10 minutes apart. High probability both traveling together or met with incident simultaneously. Back at headquarters, he stared at the Henderson map with two red dots representing Nicole and Ryan, almost overlapping on the open desert, surrounded by countless unmarked dirt tracks. The investigation officially widened, and from that moment, Ryan Goldner was no longer considered merely a witness. He was the second missing person in the Henderson case of August 2005. The discovery that both Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner went missing at the same time significantly expanded the scope of the investigation. After reviewing the map showing that the final signals from both mobile devices disappeared at the western edge of Henderson, Lieutenant Don Harvard approved a plan to extend the search toward Red Rock Canyon, an area with complex terrain and virtually no population. On August 28, the operation was launched with coordination from Clark County SAR, the Nevada State Patrol Helicopter Unit, and the National Park Service. More than 60 personnel participated, divided into 8 teams, using topographic maps and GPS data to cover a 15-mile radius around the edge of Red Rock. Harvard directly commanded from a coordination center set up near the Calico Basin overlook. The helicopter team took off from Henderson early in the morning, flying along rock canyons and desert valleys. From the air, transmitted images revealed terrain cut by dozens of deep ravines, with many areas inaccessible by vehicle. Ground teams conducted searches using a fan pattern, each responsible for a designated sector, marking their paths with colored stakes and handheld GPS units. Temperatures that day exceeded 105 degrees Fahrenheit, the air bone dry, forcing many members to rotate out for shade breaks. After 4 hours of movement, the third team reported discovering a faint set of SUV tire tracks imprinted in red sand about 200 meters off the main trail. Harbour ordered the entire formation to halt, demanding photographs, directional measurements, and soil samples. The tire tracks ran parallel for a short distance before vanishing upon reaching hard rock, with no brake marks or skids. The tread pattern resembled the type of tires fitted on Nicole's Ford Escape, but the depth and width of the grooves were not clear enough to confirm a match. Field technicians used a laser measure to determine track width, yielding 20.1 cm, consistent with common SUV models manufactured between 2000 and 2005. All data was entered into the case file, and the location was marked with GPS coordinates. Teams continued searching the surrounding area, focusing on natural crevices, rock pits, and depressions capable of concealing large objects. Beneath the sand, they found only scattered animal bones and an old water bottle, no evidence related to humans. The helicopter conducted infrared scans from 500 feet, detecting no unusual heat signatures. Harbour contacted Red Rock Canyon Management to verify outdoor activities that week. The visitor log showed no one present during the exact time of the disappearance. By the end of the day, as temperatures dropped and light turned golden, teams were ordered back to the rally point. The consolidated report showed the search had covered more than 23 square miles, yielding no bodies, vehicles, or additional evidence beyond the faint tire tracks. Harbour ordered all photos, maps, and search logs archived. He requested an additional ground-penetrating radar sweep of the tire track area, but Red Rock's geology, thick layers of limestone interspersed with sand, produced unstable penetration depths and weak return signals, revealing nothing concrete. The August 29th report concluded, no physical discoveries or signs of criminal activity. A faint series of SUV tire tracks at coordinates 36.145 N, 115.435 W, insufficient legal basis to conclude relevance. The SR team recommended a pause to reassess tactics due to dangerous terrain and extreme weather. Harbour agreed, but ordered the area to remain sealed for 48 hours in case re-examination was needed. That night, he stayed at the command center, repeatedly reviewing the scene photos. Under yellow light, the faint tracks appeared on the pale red sand, as if erased by time. He marked them in red pen on the map and wrote in his notebook, Red Rock location requires further tire tread analysis. No human evidence or additional vehicle signs. The first large-scale search ended without clear results. On the final summary, Harbour wrote simply, mission complete. No recovery, no evidence. The red marks on the map spread outward from Henderson, but stopped short of the empty desert farther west, where he knew their work had only touched the surface of something deeper, less explainable, and still without any sign that the two missing persons had ever left Nevada. The large-scale search operation around Red Rock Canyon concluded without yielding any new traces, and on August 30, 2005, Lieutenant Don Harbour was forced to draft a comprehensive report for the Henderson Police Department. The facts were listed chronologically. Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner disappeared on the same day, August 22. The last known location was Owen Jameson's residence. Nicole's vehicle was recovered intact 2 days later. Faint SUV tire tracks appeared 15 miles west of Henderson, but with no evidence directly linking them. All wide-area search efforts, including support from SAR, state police, and patrol helicopters, produced no valuable physical discoveries. In the small briefing room at the station, Harbour and the investigation team sat around the table as each member presented their assigned portion. Forensic reports confirmed no blood traces, biological material, or collision evidence in the vehicle. Recovered shoe prints lacked sufficient detail for identification. Soil samples matched Henderson area geology. The red fabric fiber remained unsourced. The carrier's technical department confirmed both Nicole's and Ryan's cell signals dropped simultaneously in a weak coverage zone, preventing precise location triangulation. Harbour reviewed all results, then quietly signed the summary page. No specific evidence of criminal activity. Case suspended pending additional evidence. The case status was changed from active case to suspended pending evidence. He fully understood the meaning of that line. It was not closure, but a holding pattern for something that might never appear. Before finalizing the decision, he ordered all evidence sealed. The Ford Escape, soil samples, fabric fiber, plaster casts, and photos numbered 01 through 37 were packaged according to protocol and stored at the Henderson PD Evidence Warehouse under Case NV-05-121A. Administrative documents, including witness statements, forensic reports, and search maps, were digitized and backed up on the internal server. A copy of the file was sent to the Nevada State Investigation Bureau for reference. The meeting ended in silence. Harver stood staring at the coordination board with its red dots marking each search location, then removed the map from the wall, rolled it carefully, and placed it in a storage tube. In the final report he wrote, "No human remains or evidence of crime discovered. Voluntary disappearance not ruled out, but unsubstantiated. Recommend file remain open pending new developments." After signing, he forwarded the report to the chief and officially notified the families of both victims. That afternoon, Nicole's mother came to the station carrying a small envelope containing photos of her daughter, taken the previous year on vacation. She asked whether police would continue searching. Harver answered in a low voice, "We haven't stopped, we're just waiting for more information." She nodded, placed the envelope on the desk, and asked him to keep it in case identification is needed. When she left, only the steady hum of the ceiling fan remained. Harver opened the file once more, scanned the list of completed steps, then paused at the line, "Last witness. Owen Jameson, statement taken. No violations noted." Beside it, he added a short note, "Informal follow-up." That evening, case files MP-05-121 and MP-05-122 were transferred to storage. The heavy iron door closed with a dry, resounding thud. Inside were neatly labeled evidence boxes bearing the red stamp, "Suspended pending evidence." In the empty hallway, Harver paused for a few seconds in front of the board listing active cases, then removed Nicole's and Ryan's files and placed them in the temporary hold section. He knew the path from suspended to closed was often just one form away, but some cases, like this one, lacked enough to end yet offered nothing to continue. In his duty log, he wrote the final entry for the month, Browning, Goldner case. No progress. Stored Henderson PD. Suspended, pending evidence. The fluorescent lights reflected coldly and flatly on the page, like the desert night outside, where no trace remained of the two people who had once passed through. After the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner was officially changed to suspended pending evidence, all related files were transferred to state-level archives per regulation. In early December 2006, Lieutenant Don Harver signed the order handing over case MP-05-121 and all physical evidence to the Las Vegas Evidence Center, the facility that accepts unresolved but inactive cases. Transport was conducted in a sealed evidence vehicle accompanied by a detailed inventory. 7 boxes containing photographs, soil samples, fabric fiber, shoe print casts, phone data, all interrogation transcripts, forensic reports, and search logs. The file was assigned code NV4712A and stored in Cold Storage Vault 3, Unanalyzed Evidence section. Simultaneously, electronic data was backed up on Henderson PD's internal server and a copy sent to Nevada's State Archive system. Transferring the file meant the case was officially removed from Henderson's active investigation roster and could only be reopened with new evidence or higher-level authorization. Of the original team, only Aaron Torres, the young investigator who had handled technical data collection, requested to leave the force shortly afterward. In her resignation report, she cited transition to civilian sector. Before leaving, Aaron spent 2 days re-examining all electronic records, including location logs, cell tower data, and 2005 coverage maps. The system still listed the simultaneous signal loss of Nicole's and Ryan's phones as the final unexplained detail. She backed up the raw log files to a personal hard drive, added an encrypted coordinate description, and filed it personally with the note, "May be useful if signal analysis technology improves." When handing over her duties, she gave her handwritten notebook to the new cold case unit. In the margins were hurried notes. Both devices dropped signal at same time, same coverage area, 12-minute discrepancy in log, requires re-verification. No one at the department noticed that detail. Harver, after months of monitoring with no progress, moved on to other civil cases. In his year-end summary, the Browning, Goldner entry was simply marked, transferred to state storage, with no additional notes. Nicole's Ford Escape remained in the impound lot, thick with dust, seals intact. Soil samples, fabric, and casts sat in metal boxes at controlled temperature. Per Evidence Center rules, the file would be reviewed annually to assess condition, but only opened upon formal request from state or federal investigators. Almost no one from the original team ever mentioned the case again. Erin left Henderson, taking her data copy and a few small printed scene photos. She kept them in a personal folder titled Cell Map Browning. No one knew she continued following the case for years, as those maps gradually yellowed with age. At the Las Vegas Evidence Center, file NV4712A sat on shelf 19 of row 4, among hundreds of Nevada's unsolved disappearances. On the brown cardboard spine, the bold print MP05121, MP05122, suspended, reflected faintly under weak fluorescent light, silent as the void the case had left behind. 7 years after MP05121 was archived at the Las Vegas Evidence Center, the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner had become one of hundreds of cold cases in Nevada. In early 2012, during routine maintenance of the center's database system, systems analyst Mason Bell, who was responsible for digitizing old files for migration to a new storage format, accidentally discovered an anomaly in the technical data related to this case. His daily work involved verifying the integrity of original log files created between 2000 and 2006 to ensure no corruption occurred before automated backup. When he reached the dataset labeled MP05121 vehicle_log, Mason noticed the file containing vehicle GPS information had a different structure than other cases from the same period. Specifically, the checksum value used to verify that data had not been altered after entry did not match the original stored on 2006 tape backup. The discrepancy was tiny, just a few bytes at the start of the file, but enough for the verification system to flag checksum mismatch. Following protocol, he copied the file to a sandbox environment and ran a bit-by-bit comparison. Results showed a segment had been manually edited. The first coordinate matched the location where Nicole's Ford Escape was recovered, but another set of coordinates, approximately 1 mile west, had been replaced with null characters, something that only occurs with direct human intervention before the file was finalized. Mason documented the discrepancy in the technical log and cross-referenced the last modification date, September 14, 2005, just 3 weeks after the investigation was suspended. The system logged the edit under an old Henderson PD admin account, but because the 2005 permission system did not tie actions to individual IDs, the exact user could not be identified. He extracted both versions of the file, naming them MP05121 vehicle_log_A and _B, and saved them temporarily in a monitoring folder. In his internal technical report to management, he wrote briefly, "Checksum mismatch detected between 2005 original and 2006 import copy. Possible manual tampering, impact on data undetermined." The report was sent to the Administrative Archive Office under the Nevada Attorney General's oversight. A week later, he received an automated response, noted, "No further action required, case inactive." Per administrative procedure, suspended cases are only reopened with formal investigative request or court order, so Mason's finding received no follow-up. Still, The anomaly piqued his curiosity. During a break, he checked log files from contemporaneous cases. All checksums matched except NV4712A. He examined the file metadata further and noticed the recorded vehicle description did not fully match the 2005 report. The vehicle_type field listed Ford Escape 2004, while the original recorded Ford Escape 2003. A minor discrepancy, but unusual. Mason added it to a supplemental note. Possible manual re-entry error, recommend verification with originating unit. Again, no response. The system automatically marked the report closed, no action. By year-end, after completing the maintenance cycle, Mason saved copies of both GPS files and the checksum mismatch log to a personal drive to preserve them in case of future server migration. He did not think much more about it, just a rare technical glitch among thousands of old cases. Yet in his work notebook, beside code NV4712A, he wrote a small line. 1-bit checksum offset, possible GPS coordinate alteration, recheck when system improves. After closing the process, case MP05121 remained untouched on the storage shelves of the Las Vegas Evidence Center. In the 2012 summary, Browning, Goldner was simply noted no new evidence. Mason Bell's report was filed under internal technical notice, never leaving the system, and for many years afterward, no one noticed that the original data for one of Henderson's most notorious disappearances had been altered in the weeks immediately after the file was closed. 8 years after systems analyst Mason Bell recorded the checksum error, Nevada entered a comprehensive modernization of legal data. In 2020, the Digital Archive Nevada project was launched by the State Attorney General's office to digitize, consolidate, and restore all electronic records from 1990 to 2010, including mobile, GPS, and telecommunications logs used in investigations. The new system employed scanning and recovery technology for corrupted or incomplete old logs that were previously unreadable. During the initial test phase, the technical team led by network specialist Eric Santos reviewed backlogged cases involving mobile signals, including file MP05121, the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner. When scanning the vehicle_log and cell_tower_data group, the recovery software automatically detected deleted code segments in the 2006 import version. The system successfully restored 93% of the original content, including an overwritten coordinate set. Notably, the recovered data revealed a new log for a third device, not belonging to Nicole or Ryan, labeled device_OJ 2005, with an IMEI matching Owen Jameson's personal phone from that period. According to system records, this phone lost signal within the same time window as Nicole's and Ryan's devices, with its final location triangulated near the eastern edge of Red Rock Canyon. The distance between Owen's last signal and the faint SUV tire tracks found in 2005 was less than 2 miles. Eric Santos considered this a significant coincidence and immediately forwarded the information to the geographic verification team. Using new signal mapping software, they reconstructed coverage for all 3 devices between 9 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on August 22, 2005. The visualization showed all 3 moving in the same westward direction from Henderson before dropping out of coverage within a 13-minute window. With modern analysis, positional error was reduced to approximately 300 meters, precise enough to pinpoint a specific area. When overlaid on current maps, Owen's final signal fell inside Red Rock Canyon, near the old Calico Wash Rock Trail, an area the 2005 search teams never surveyed due to treacherous terrain. A preliminary report was submitted to the project office with the note, "Possible connection between Owen Jameson's device and Red Rock Canyon area, recommend forwarding to federal investigative authorities." Simultaneously, the data was automatically shared with the state records management system and entered the potential case re-evaluation list. An online meeting was held between the project technical team and representatives from the FBI Las Vegas Cold Case Unit to discuss the anomalous findings. In the minutes dated September 14, 2020, one line stood out. Owen Jameson device last signal overlaps Red Rock Canyon. 2005 original data shows checksum tampering, high probability of non-procedural manipulation. For the first time in 15 years since the case was archived, Owen Jameson's name reappeared in an official report. Eric Santos compiled all recovered data, including movement maps, signal loss times, GPS coordinates, and the altered code segments, into a complete 47-page technical report sent to the Nevada Attorney General's office. In the conclusion he wrote, "Recovery results indicate high likelihood of manual data manipulation during the initial investigation phase. Overlapping Red Rock Canyon location may represent the final point of the vehicle or victims. Recommend full re-examination of MP05-121-122. The report was routed through internal channels to the FBI, as required for cases showing evidence of data tampering. 1 week later, the case status on SRMS changed from suspended to review pending. In an internal memo to the project team, Santos noted, "Current technology enables recovery of lost data." The Red Rock Canyon coordinate overlap is critically significant to re-establishing case timeline. Specialized investigative agency confirmation required. At the Las Vegas Evidence Center, physical evidence for MP05-121 remained untouched on Shelf 19, but within the state's digital system, it was no longer regarded as a simple cold case. Maps of the three devices, Nicole, Ryan, and Owen, now overlapped on the data center display, their blue, yellow, and red paths converging at a single point, the eastern edge of Red Rock Canyon. This discovery, though only digital, was enough to rekindle suspicions buried for 15 years and prompt Nevada authorities to begin considering reopening the 2005 Henderson disappearance, a case long thought lost to oblivion. After the Digital Archive Nevada project completed the recovery of phone data and identified the last signal location coinciding with Red Rock Canyon, the technical report was forwarded to the FBI's Las Vegas field office for consideration of whether to reopen the investigation. Following multiple internal meetings and risk assessments, the FBI approved the reopening of the Browning, Goldner case, officially assigning it the designation Case Reopen NV 21001. Aaron Delgado, an FBI special agent with many years of experience in cold cases involving missing persons and electronic data, was appointed to lead the new investigative team and was directly responsible for analysis, planning, and coordination with specialists. Immediately upon receiving the assignment, Aaron conducted a full review of the physical case files at the Las Vegas Evidence Center, where all evidence from 2005 was stored: Nicole Browning's Ford Escape, soil samples, dust, footwear impressions, fabric fibers, interview transcripts, search logs, maps, and the entirety of the digitized data from the Digital Archive project. Aaron created a complete evidence inventory, checked the seal integrity of every box, recorded serial numbers and storage locations, and made digital copies for the new analysis team. She directed the team to organize the evidence by priority. The vehicle and DNA samples were placed at the top, followed by GPS data, cell tower records, interview transcripts, and crime scene photographs. Aaron divided the team into three main units: a forensic unit specializing in DNA, trace evidence, and biological materials, a digital unit handling GPS, cell tower data, and signal recovery, and a logistics unit responsible for scene records, mapping, and evidence management. She personally rechecked every item, ensuring all digital data had backups, and every evidence box received a second seal inspection before being moved to the analysis area. During the team's first meeting, Aaron presented the full case background, emphasizing the key points. Nicole and Ryan's phone signals dropped simultaneously. Their last known location overlapped with Red Rock Canyon. Owen's vehicle GPS data had altered checksums, and this had never been thoroughly examined during the original investigation. She assigned specific tasks, set deadlines for data review, interim reports, and storage of results in a highly secure central repository. with 24/7 camera surveillance. Aaron also personally cross-referenced the digital records from the Digital Archive project against the physical evidence in storage to identify any discrepancies. Additionally, she instructed team members to create comparative maps of the locations of Nicole's, Ryan's, and Owen's devices during the signal loss window in preparation for an electronic scene reconstruction. Aaron conducted a full evidence reinventory, renumbered every sample, entered them into the FBI case management system, and established a priority catalog for simultaneous forensic and digital analysis. During the first 2 weeks, she inspected the current condition of the storage facility, verified seal integrity, and confirmed that all evidence remained intact, with DNA and fabric containers maintained at proper temperature and humidity. She also contacted a team of geologists and materials engineers to prepare comparisons between soil recovered from the vehicle and faint tire tracks at Red Rock Canyon. Upon completion of inventory and evidence classification, Aaron submitted an internal report to the FBI Cold Case Investigative Unit, proposing a detailed reopening plan that included resurveying the scene, camera recovery, GPS and cell signal analysis, and re-examination of all physical evidence using modern technology. The proposal was approved that same week, formally restarting the Browning, Goldner case after 15 years of dormancy, and placing Aaron Delgado in full charge of the entire investigation process, from collection and analysis to coordination with forensic, digital, and field specialists. The entire effort was documented in detail in the investigative log, marking the first time the case had been reopened after years of silence, with maximum focus on the old physical evidence and newly recovered data, offering the opportunity to reconstruct events that had never been fully analyzed since 2005. Immediately after receiving all recovered evidence and data, Aaron Delgado directed the digital unit to begin analyzing the GPS data related to Owen Jameson on the night of August 22, 2005. The team used the restored mobile device logs from the Digital Archive Nevada project, combined with the original vehicle GPS data, to reconstruct a detailed movement map covering the period from when Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner left the office until Owen's phone signal dropped. Using specialized 3D mapping software, every coordinate was entered into the system, creating a continuous travel path that allowed the team to observe direction, estimated speed, and temporary stops. The results showed the route beginning in downtown Henderson, proceeding west to Owen's house, then turning onto a secondary road toward Red Rock Canyon. The digital team identified a critical point where Owen's phone signal disappeared completely, located approximately 1.2 miles straight-line distance from Red Rock Canyon, an area of desert that had never been thoroughly searched during the original 2005 effort. Aaron ordered a comparison of this coordinate string with the last known signals of Nicole and Ryan. The results revealed that the final locations of all three devices were almost identical, forming a small triangle on the map with sides no longer than 400 meters, clearly defining the area, requiring on-site examination. She marked the location on the electronic map, created a numbered coordinate diagram with notes on timing and estimated accuracy, and provided it to the forensic and SAR teams for field preparation. Aaron determined that a direct survey of the area 1.2 miles from Red Rock Canyon was essential to determine whether any vehicle tracks, footprints, or other evidence remained from the night of the disappearance. The digital team continued analyzing Owen's travel speed based on distances between GPS points. The data indicated slow travel with multiple likely stops, enabling estimation of potential locations where significant events occurred. Aaron ordered a detailed survey plan that divided the area into 50-meter grid squares, utilizing drones and off-road vehicles for hard-to-reach sections and deploying cadaver dogs to detect any remaining organic material. Each grid square was numbered, assigned a sub-team for direct examination, with hourly log updates to ensure nothing was missed. The electronic map was printed and posted on the central coordination board, with Owen's route shown in red arrows and the signal loss point marked by a yellow dot. Aaron personally verified every data point entered into the system to eliminate errors and instructed the team to preserve all original 2005 recovered data and compare it with the 2006 modified logs to detect any coordinate anomalies. Upon completion of the GPS analysis, Aaron compiled a 40-page internal technical report detailing the travel direction, potential stop points, the signal loss location coinciding with Red Rock Canyon, and the recommendation for immediate on-site survey. In the report, she emphasized that this area had not been adequately searched during the original effort due to rugged terrain with numerous rock crevices and small canyons, making the likelihood of remaining physical evidence or vehicle remnants very high. The report was submitted to project leadership with a copy archived on the FBI server and marked ready for field survey. Aaron briefed the digital and forensic teams, explained the analysis results in detail, and directed close coordination with SAR and field specialists for the upcoming survey, stressing the importance of combining GPS data with existing evidence to identify critical locations. The entire process was documented and entered into the case management system, ensuring every step was recorded in preparation for the next phase of the Browning. Goldner missing persons reinvestigation and the opportunity to uncover traces that had gone unnoticed for more than 15 years. Immediately after Aaron Delgado and the investigative team completed the GPS data analysis, they developed a field survey plan for the Red Rock Canyon area based on the coordinates derived from Owen Jameson's and the two victims' phone signals. On the morning of early June 2021, following a heavy overnight rain, a hiker discovered a metallic object protruding from the hard red soil among rock crevices and natural brush. The information was immediately reported to the Henderson Police Department, and Aaron's forensic team was dispatched to the scene. Upon approach, the team confirmed the object resembled a vehicle frame, covered in dust and dried mud, partially washed away by the rain. Forensic personnel conducted an initial on-site examination, took measurements, weighed it, marked key points, and used handheld GPS to record the exact coordinates of the frame. The technical team classified the materials, confirming the metal plates belonged to a vehicle chassis and body. Interior components were rain-damaged but retained basic structure. When a side panel was removed to check the VIN, the forensic team recorded a number sequence that exactly matched the 1993 Ford Bronco, registered solely to Owen Jameson. This information was immediately entered by Aaron into the case file system. The forensic team implemented on-site preservation measures, erected barricades, cordoned the area, numbered soil, dust, and small metal fragment collection points. Every item was sealed, labeled, cataloged in detail, and then loaded into a specialized transport vehicle for delivery to the Henderson PD evidence vault. Aaron personally supervised the entire process while recording critical scene conditions, slope, wind direction, post-rain soil state, and any suspicious marks nearby. The Bronco frame was located in a narrow mountain ravine against the southern rock face, a location the 2005 search teams had never reached due to treacherous terrain. Initial interior inspection revealed no immediate personal items or biological evidence, but accumulated metal fragments and dust layers were collected for laboratory analysis. Additionally, minor scratches and dents on the body were documented for comparison with 2005 vehicle and tire evidence. Aaron directed high-resolution photography of the entire scene from multiple angles, video recording, and drone overflights to capture overhead imagery and surrounding crevices. All data were digitally backed up and entered into the case file system for subsequent detailed forensic analysis. Preliminary findings indicated an intact vehicle frame with no signs of intentional destruction, but its placement and burial depth suggested it had been moved from elsewhere and deliberately concealed. The matching VIN directly implicated the prime subject in the Browning, Goldner disappearance. Aaron prepared a detailed report noting discovery time, GPS coordinates, weather and terrain conditions, and instructed the forensic team to collect all soil, dust and metal samples for chemical testing and comparison with Henderson area mineral data. That same afternoon, the Bronco frame was transported to the Henderson PD evidence vault under Aaron's direct supervision. With every step video recorded for chain of custody purposes, samples were categorized and sealed by individual code in preparation for DNA, soil, and metallurgical analysis. Aaron updated the investigative log, noting that the discovery location matched Owen Jameson's GPS signal loss area and would serve as a critical starting point for reconstructing the events of August 22, 2005. Preliminary scene reports were sent immediately to the FBI office, and an expanded grid-by-grid survey plan was initiated for the entire surrounding Red Rock area to locate any additional evidence related to Nicole and Ryan's disappearance. Marking the first time in 16 years, the case had direct physical evidence linking it to the suspect. Immediately after confirming the 1993 Ford Bronco frame in the Red Rock Canyon ravine, Aaron Delgado ordered the forensic team to conduct a full standardized vehicle excavation. Safety and evidence preservation protocols were established before work began. The area was completely sealed, barricades and caution tape erected, and all forensic personnel wore sterile gloves, hard hats, and full protective gear to prevent contamination. First, the team used a small crane and lifting equipment to raise the entire frame onto a stable platform, controlling movement to prevent dislodging any remaining fragments. Forensic examiners systematically removed body panels, carefully inspecting crevices, undercarriage, and cabin areas, documenting the position of any objects found. Floor mats encrusted with dried mud were removed with care, placed in individually numbered evidence bags, and their orientation and collection location recorded. During examination of the driver and passenger compartments, the team discovered a long brown hair adhered to the rear driver side floor mat. The hair was collected with sterile forceps and sealed in a separate paper envelope. Several small dried blood stains were observed on the rear seat upholstery and passenger floorboard. Samples were scraped, placed in sterile vials, numbered and sealed. The team also recovered a red fabric fragment approximately 5 cod 7 cm, made of sport polyester with one slightly frayed edge and covered in dust and sand, considered critical evidence for DNA analysis and comparison with Nicole Browning's known clothing. Every item was numbered, documented in detail, and its precise location within the vehicle recorded for scene reconstruction and forensic purposes. The technical team photographed overall and close-up views of each item, filmed the entire excavation process from multiple angles, and used a drone to preserve overhead imagery of the vehicle's original position in the ravine. All data were entered into the FBI case file system to maintain chain of custody and facilitate future comparison. After evidence collection, the frame was transported via specialized vehicle to the Henderson PD evidence vault, with all movement supervised and video recorded for legal integrity. Aaron ensured every sample received secondary sealing, clear sequential numbering, case ID, and collector signature, and created a complete digital duplicate of the excavation file, including photos, videos, GPS coordinates, and physical samples. During transport, the frame was secured on a fixed platform to prevent vibration that could dislodge remaining fabric, hair, or dried blood. Upon arrival at the vault, evidence containers were placed in a dedicated climate-controlled area to preserve DNA stability and fabric integrity. Aaron cross-checked the evidence manifest against field records to confirm consistency with GPS data and collection points. Containers holding floor mats, hair red fabric fragment, and dried blood were coded NV05121A1 through a 10, sealed with security tape, and signed by all participating personnel. A detailed excavation report was prepared stating 1993 Ford Bronco frame, VIN matching Owen Jameson vehicle, floor mats, hair dried blood, and red fabric fragment recovered, scene preserved, all samples sealed and forwarded for examination. Aaron ensured all data, photos, and videos were backed up on the FBI internal server with timestamps and collection location, annotations for subsequent forensic analysis, and scene reconstruction. By the end of the day, after final inventory and confirmation that nothing had been overlooked, all evidence was ready for DNA, chemical, and comparative analysis with GPS, cell signal, and historical data to accurately reconstruct the events of August 22, 2005, and prepare for the next investigative phase. A major milestone in reconnecting the Browning, Goldner case after 16 years. Once all evidence from the 1993 Ford Bronco frame had been secured at the Henderson PD Forensic Vault, Aaron Delgado directed the laboratory to conduct DNA and chemical testing to establish origin and victim connection. The forensic team began with the hair and dried blood samples recovered from the floor mats and passenger seating, employing STR analysis combined with mitochondrial DNA testing for maximum accuracy, and compared results to the reference DNA profile of Nicole Browning provided by her family in 2005. Initial results showed a full match with Nicole's DNA, confirming she had been in contact with and present inside the vehicle while ruling out cross-contamination or analytical error. Next, the chemistry unit analyzed engine oil residue on the undercarriage and floor mats, comparing it to samples taken from Owen's garage, where Nicole was known to have stopped. The chemical composition and additive concentrations matched exactly, proving the vehicle had been in that garage environment. Additionally, soil and dust adhered to the undercarriage were compared to Red Rock Canyon samples. Results confirmed the presence of characteristic desert sand particles not found in urban Henderson soil, proving the vehicle had been moved from its original location before being abandoned. Examiners noted the condition of samples, including fraying of the red fabric and wear on the floor mats, indicating long-term storage in dry, low-humidity, fine sand desert conditions without rapid open-air deterioration. All examination results were entered into the FBI Data Management System under designation NV05121ADN, including date and time of analysis, performing scientist, and testing protocol. Aaron compiled the reports and evaluated evidentiary links. Nicole's DNA proved her presence in the vehicle. Matching garage oil directly tied the vehicle to Owen. Soil and dust evidence confirmed intentional movement and burial in the Red Rock Canyon desert. From these findings, Aaron drew the preliminary conclusion that the vehicle had not been abandoned accidentally, but deliberately concealed to hide critical evidence in the disappearance. She prepared an interim report for case leadership and instructed continued analysis of smaller debris and dust for additional DNA or biological traces. Every result, photograph and sample was fully documented, individually numbered, and sealed to FBI standards for subsequent investigative steps, including scene reconstruction, GPS comparison, and final vehicle travel path determination. Aaron emphasized that the DNA and chemical results provided solid scientific foundation, proving Nicole's presence in the vehicle and its direct connection to Owen's garage, while confirming the discovery location resulted from deliberate action rather than chance. The interim report concluded with Aaron's note, DNA and chemical analysis proved direct connection between Nicole Browning, the Bronco, and Owen Jameson's garage. Vehicle was intentionally moved and buried, continued detailed analysis of secondary samples, and coordinate with GPS data for full event reconstruction. All information was archived at the Henderson PD Evidence Vault, with digital copies on the FBI Secure System, ensuring every piece of data and evidence was ready for the next investigative phase. The first time in 16 years that scientific evidence had directly linked the victim to both the vehicle and the Red Rock Canyon area, opening a critical pathway for the renewed Browning-Goldner investigation. After obtaining the DNA results from the Bronco frame, Aaron Delgado obtained a new search warrant for Owen Jameson's residence in Reno to look for additional traces related to Nicole Browning's disappearance. The forensic team and federal agents were deployed to the location, conducting a full examination of the entire garage in strict accordance with legal procedure, in the presence of counsel, with the entire scene audio recorded and video recorded. The garage was opened, the concrete floor was covered with a still new layer of epoxy paint, Tools and storage bins were neatly arranged, but when the forensic team tested with luminol and ultraviolet light, they discovered old blood spatter and smears of blood beneath the epoxy layer, scattered around the area along the wall and under the tool shelves. The team swabbed each small trace with sterile applicators, placed them into individually sealed tubes, sequentially numbered them, and noted the exact location according to the garage diagram. At the same time, technicians collected additional soil samples from underneath the old vehicle and from items near the blood traces, paying particular attention to soil containing desert sand for comparison with the mineral composition of the area in Red Rock Canyon where the frame was found. All samples were packaged, sealed, cataloged separately, and labeled NV05121 Garage. The laboratory conducted DNA testing on the blood traces. The results were a full match to Nicole Browning's DNA, confirming she had come into contact with that surface, and proving this was the location where the vehicle and evidence were moved or prepared before being abandoned. Aaron directed the team to take detailed photographs of each trace, record video of the entire area, measure coordinates and directions of the related blood spatter, and create a distribution diagram of the samples, ensuring every piece of evidence was precisely located within the garage. Fragments of epoxy paint from areas containing blood were also collected for planned chemical analysis to determine the timing of when the blood adhered to the surface. In addition, the desert sand samples taken from beneath shelves and the undercarriage were sent for mineral composition testing and comparison with data obtained from the Red Rock Canyon scene to determine whether the vehicle had been driven from Owen's garage to the desert. Aaron supervised the entire process, documenting each step in the scene log, numbering all items of evidence, and entering the data into the case management system along with a digitized coordinate map. Every item of evidence was sealed and stored under appropriate temperature and humidity standards to prevent degradation of DNA and chemical components. The preliminary report concluded the blood traces and soil samples recovered confirm a direct connection between Nicole Browning and Owen Jameson's garage. The desert sand samples indicate a high probability the vehicle was driven from this location to the Red Rock Canyon area. Aaron noted that the garage scene provided critical additional evidence, which combined with the GPS data and DNA analysis from the Bronco frame, formed a solid foundation for the next steps in reconstructing the events of the night of August 22, 2005. All evidence, once collection was complete, was transferred to the Henderson PD evidence vault. Every step was preserved in the FBI's digital case file, marking a major milestone in the reopened Browning Goldner investigation. The first time in 16 years there was a direct evidentiary link between the victim, the vehicle, and suspect Owen Jameson's garage. Immediately after completing the garage search of Owen Jameson and collecting the critical samples, Aaron Delgado directed the digital unit to recover the 2005 neighborhood security camera footage from the residential area where Owen lived, an essential component for corroborating the Bronco's route. The original 2005 DVR system had multiple failed hard drives and corrupted video files due to long-term storage degradation. But using modern digital recovery technology, Aaron's team employed specialized video data recovery software, scanned the drives in full, and produced high-resolution digitized copies. The first recovered footage showed portions from the camera positioned at the community entrance gate, recording vehicles traveling from the main road to the individual homes. While frame-by-frame review, the team discovered images of the 1993 silver Bronco leaving Owen's house in the pre-dawn hours. The exact time frame when the restored GPS and cell tower data showed the phones of Owen, Nicole, and Ryan all went dark. Aaron ordered technicians to flag every critical frame, record the precise timestamps and camera coordinates, and cross-reference them with the previously analyzed GPS data to confirm the match. The footage showed the vehicle heading southwest, exiting the neighborhood, and proceeding toward the Red Rock Canyon region, perfectly consistent with the area where the devices lost signal. The camera recovery team continued scanning auxiliary cameras around the neighborhood, including one directly across from Owen's garage and two at nearby intersections, to determine whether any other vehicles or individuals accompanied the Bronco. Results aligned with the initial findings. Only the Bronco appeared, with no indication of additional vehicles or persons, supporting the theory that the vehicle was moved alone. Aaron preserved all recovered data in digitized format under code NV05121 CAM, and created a detailed technical log of every frame and second to ensure full legal chain of custody. Camera coordinate maps were overlaid with the GPS data. The timelines matched precisely with the phone signal loss zone and the faint SUV tire impressions noted during the 2005 search. The technical team also applied image enhancement software to clarify details on the Bronco, verifying license plate, headlight configuration, and glass features to confirm accurate vehicle identification. Aaron directed preparation of an interim report describing the recovery process, timestamps, and vehicle locations in detail, with the preliminary conclusion that the camera footage matches the GPS data and confirms the route from Owen's garage to the Red Rock Canyon area. All video files and reports were stored on the FBI's secure system, with independent backup copies in case of future comparison or reanalysis. The camera recovery also noted limitations. Some cameras had failed and did not retain complete data, but the critical frames were sufficient to prove timing and route of the Bronco. Aaron compiled all results and outlined the next survey steps for the forensic and SAR teams, defining the exact area where the vehicle left pavement and the direction toward Red Rock, ensuring every subsequent investigative step rested on solid evidence and creating a crucial foundation for linking physical, forensic, and electronic signal evidence in the Browning, Goldner case. The technical log and camera recovery minutes were updated into case file NV05121, marking the first time in 16 years direct visual evidence showed the vehicle tied to Owen Jameson, traveling from his residence to the established final GPS signal location, strengthening the connection between the suspect, the vehicle, and Red Rock Canyon, and providing grounds for the next investigative phases. Immediately after completing the camera data recovery and confirming the Bronco's departure from Owen Jameson's house, Lieutenant Don Harver, in coordination with Aaron Delgado, summoned Owen to the FBI Henderson field office for a second interview. The interview was conducted in a secure room, fully audio and video recorded, with counsel present, ensuring compliance with all legal procedures. Owen arrived on time, calm-faced, wearing a light-colored dress shirt and jeans. Aaron began by confronting him with the camera images in relation to his previous statement, asking for specifics about when Nicole and Ryan arrived at his house, how long they stayed, and the direction they took when leaving. Owen repeated that Nicole came to pick up personal items. They spoke for about 15 minutes, and she left normally. Ryan waited in the yard and never entered the house. When Aaron presented the frames showing the Bronco leaving Owen's garage in the pre-dawn hours, he attempted to explain, "I don't remember the exact time. I might have gone out earlier to check the garage door." This statement conflicted with the recovered GPS data showing Owen's phone remained active at the residence until leaving coverage, and the vehicle movement timeline matched the exact period when Nicole's and Ryan's phones went dark. Aaron pointed out the timestamp overlap, emphasizing that both camera footage and GPS data confirmed the Bronco departed the garage toward Red Rock Canyon direction during that precise window. Owen appeared flustered and gave evasive answers, saying, "I just kept the truck in the garage. I don't know what happened." Harver and Aaron pressed for details about who moved the vehicle, who had access to the garage that night, and whether anyone assisted him. Owen's responses were vague and shifted, sometimes claiming he was alone, sometimes mentioning a former garage employee. Each inconsistency was documented in real time in the interview transcript and immediately compared to camera and GPS evidence. When asked to account for his activities from the moment Nicole and Ryan supposedly left until his phone lost signal, Owen became hesitant and could provide no precise timeline, offering only general statements like, "I might have been sleeping or checking the gym." When questioned about the physical evidence recovered from the garage, dried blood, hair, and red fabric fragments, Owen denied any knowledge and insisted, "I never saw any of that." Aaron noted that those items matched the DNA and forensic analyses from the Bronco frame, creating a direct contradiction with his statements. Harver reconstructed the timeline using GPS, camera, and forensic results, cross-checking each of Owen's answers and recording the contradictions. When asked who had authority to move the Bronco, Owen again gave circular answers, first claiming he didn't know, then suggesting someone could have taken it without telling him. This lack of consistency led the investigators to conclude there was sufficient basis to request custodial detention for further investigation and to prevent potential destruction or tampering with evidence. Harver informed Owen and his attorney that detention was under consideration and prepared a detailed record of every discrepancy between the statements and objective evidence. The interview lasted nearly 3 hours. Every portion was recorded, backed up, and updated into Case Management System NV05121. Aaron noted in her investigative log, every behavior, timestamp, coordinate, and item of evidence was directly cross-referenced, creating a solid legal foundation for a detention order while continuing the investigation and establishing additional investigative avenues to fully reconstruct the events of the night of August 22, 2005. At the conclusion, Owen signed acknowledgement of the second interview without admitting any wrongdoing, and the team prepared detention paperwork to safeguard ongoing evidence collection and data gathering while setting the stage for further analysis of the vehicle route and Red Rock Canyon scene. Immediately after completing Owen Jameson's second interview, Aaron Delgado decided to meet again with former Police Chief Don Harver to mine information from the original 2005 investigation and clarify details related to the then-suspended case file MP05121. The meeting was arranged at Harver's former office in Henderson, where he still kept personal archived files and several original scene maps. Aaron explained the purpose to identify observations Harver had recorded but never entered into the official file, and to cross-reference them with the newly recovered GPS, camera, and physical evidence. Harver, initially hesitant, eventually admitted that during the original investigation, he had withheld certain reports and notes concerning Owen Jameson from the official record. He explained he did so to protect the neighborhood's reputation, believing that publicizing vague details could create unnecessary controversy, and partly because evidence was insufficient at the time. Aaron requested he produce every withheld document, report, and note. Harver provided personally marked folders containing hand-drawn diagrams of Owen's property and potential routes the original search teams never fully explored. He retrieved from a cabinet an old 2005 Red Rock map with trails and ravines marked in red and green ink, noting locations of faint SUV tire impressions that were recorded but never thoroughly investigated, as well as helicopter SAR observation points. Harver pointed out areas the 2005 SAR teams could not access due to treacherous terrain, deep ravines and small valleys, and highlighted several spots where vehicle traces or evidence might remain, but conditions prevented excavation. Aaron compared Harver's map with the recovered GPS and cell tower data and found striking overlap between the final signal coordinates and the zones Harver had circled. She documented everything, photographed the maps, digitized the notes, and entered them into the FBI case management system to support upcoming ground surveys. Harver also provided personal observations about the original garage scene, paint overspray, and potential evidence locations never collected, and recounted Owen's initial statements he had always suspected were incomplete. Aaron noted these details would be cross-checked with excavation results and DNA analyses and used to prioritize additional search zones around Red Rock Canyon. During the discussion, Harver acknowledged that withholding reports had once brought him relief, but now regret, as the newly recovered GPS and camera data made those old notes extremely valuable. Aaron asked Harver to renumber each marked location, assign corresponding GPS coordinates, and provide copies for the ground team. All material was digitized, with originals sealed and labeled NV05121 Harbor, ensuring every piece of 2005 investigative information would be preserved, compared with new evidence, and available for subsequent legal steps. The meeting lasted nearly 3 hours. Aaron left with a complete set of maps, notes, digitized files, and critical supplemental information about previously unsearched areas, ready to plan the next excavation and scene analysis phase, a significant advance in the reopened and deepened Browning, Goldner investigation. Immediately after collecting and digitizing all the archived material, Aaron Delgado directed the technical team to recover the data from the mini audio cassette found inside Nicole Browning's Bronco compartment. The tape had lain dormant for over 15 years, its thin magnetic layer was slightly worn, and the original audio was almost unreadable on period equipment. The team employed the latest generation AI recovery software, combined with deep learning technology to reconstruct waveforms and remove noise caused by rain, dust, and age degradation. The process scanned every audio frame, analyzed frequency spectra, and adjusted signal levels, producing a high-resolution digital version that allowed nearly pristine playback of every detail. While reviewing the timeline, the team discovered a noteworthy segment, a metallic impact sound, followed by hurried footsteps and voices, indistinct but with tense cadence, then a long metallic screech, as though a door or heavy object was dragged across the floor. The technicians analyzed footfall patterns and timing intervals, determining the steps matched the 2 shoe-size impressions previously collected. One small female consistent and one larger, corresponding to prints recovered from the vehicle scene and surrounding Red Rock Canyon area. Aaron immediately ordered comparison of the audio event timestamps with Owen Jameson's GPS and phone data from the night of August 22, 2005. The cross-reference revealed the audio events occurred between 21:05 and 21:18, the exact window when Nicole's and Ryan's devices lost signal, establishing a direct link between the physical events captured on tape and the recorded movement coordinates. The team continued voice frequency analysis, filtering background noise, and isolated at least 2 distinct voices, one higher-pitched female, consistent with Nicole, and one lower, still unidentified. Aaron documented in her investigative log, Mini Cassette provides real-time data matching GPS signals, footfalls, and physical sounds. The team also mapped the sound locations, determining the impacts and footsteps occurred along the vehicle's main axis from the driver's seat to the rear cargo area, aligning with the departure direction captured on camera in the pre-dawn hours. Each sound was sequentially numbered, digital copies were sealed, and the physical tape was stored in the Henderson PD evidence vault under code NV05121AG. Aaron ordered creation of encrypted backup copies on a separate server within the FBI case management system, ensuring independent access while maintaining chain of custody. The technical team further applied vibration and rhythm analysis software to estimate impact force and, combined with tire track and terrain data, approximate the weight of the colliding object, data to be used in subsequent analyses of how the vehicle or items were moved and concealed. Aaron noted the footfalls and impacts were inconsistent with normal vehicle activity and occurred simultaneously with phone signal loss and the garage departure camera timestamp, strengthening the hypothesis that an abnormal event took place inside the Bronco during that window. She also directed separation of audio layers for comparison with prior DNA and physical traces to determine matches with blood, hair, red fabric fragments, or other garage scene evidence. All findings were entered into the digitized investigation database, along with a 3D map recreating vehicle position and audio events, facilitating detailed reconstruction of the August 22, 2005 night. During analysis, the team noted certain background sounds, wind, rolling sand, and rock, consistent with Red Rock Canyon desert conditions, confirming location authenticity and ruling out fabrication or artificial addition. Aaron prepared a 45-page interim report detailing timestamps, sound types, footfalls, impacts, matches with GPS and camera data, including location diagrams and audio heat maps, and forwarded it to case leadership as basis for the next ground survey and forensic phase. The forensic team sealed the original tape, labeled recovered copies NV05121, AUD01, and documented every AI recovery step to ensure legal admissibility and prevent authenticity challenges. Upon completion, Aaron reviewed all data against prior evidence, frame, blood, hair, red fabric, GPS and camera, forming a continuous and consistent timeline that clearly established the vehicle route, Nicole's presence inside it, and the moment of the impacts. She concluded the report, "The cassette audio provides direct evidence of events inside the vehicle, matching Owen, Nicole and Ryan GPS, confirming Red Rock Canyon location, and supplying scientific foundation for full event chain reconstruction and the next investigative steps in the Browning, Goldner case." All recordings, reports, diagrams, and digitized data were entered into the FBI case management system for full future retrieval in support of ongoing forensic, scene and comparative analysis with physical evidence. Immediately after recovering the audio recording and confirming the timestamps matched the GPS data, Aaron Delgado directed the forensic reconstruction team to begin the electronic 3D crime scene reconstruction process with the goal of recreating the entire sequence of events on the night of August 22, 2005, in the Red Rock Canyon area. The team utilized GPS data from Nicole, Ryan and Owen, combined with security camera footage, the coordinates where the Bronco was found, and physical samples collected from the crime scene and Owen's garage, inputting everything into specialized 3D reconstruction software. This allowed observation from every angle, bird's eye view, north, south, east, and west, while accurately recreating the canyon terrain, rock crevices, and small valleys that had never been thoroughly surveyed in 2005. The recovered audio recordings were synchronized, simulating impact sounds, footsteps, and the moment phone signals were lost, to pinpoint the exact location of the vehicle in the ravine. The team reconstructed the Bronco's entire route from Owen's garage, through back roads into the desert, to the location where the frame was discovered. In the model, the vehicle frame was placed inside the ravine, tilted toward the south, with the rear end close to the rock wall, and the sides near large boulders, precisely replicating the physical condition found in the field. Paint scratches and dust accumulation on the undercarriage were recreated to evaluate how the vehicle had been moved, the force of impact, and the direction of pushing. When running the simulation, the team determined the vehicle had to have been lowered into the ravine, using heavy equipment, and could not have rolled down from the ridge on its own. Additionally, the faint 2005 soil drag marks and tire tracks matched the simulated movement direction. Aaron ordered cross-checking against equipment rental records. A contract for an excavator from a local company was located, signed in Owen Jameson's name, with the rental period matching the week before Nicole disappeared, and the job site listed near Red Rock Canyon. This contract provided critical evidence supporting the use of an excavator to push the vehicle into the ravine and bury it, consistent with the 3D simulation results. The technical team reconstructed multiple vehicle movement scenarios, modeling the required force, push direction and soil displacement patterns, demonstrating that the complete burial of the vehicle was deliberate rather than accidental abandonment. Aaron noted every detail: distance from the main road to the burial site, the ravine's angle of incline, wind direction and temperature effects on evidence degradation over time, and marked the locations of recovered fabric fragments, hair and blood within the model. The 3D reconstruction also incorporated a heat map, simulating how long the vehicle had been in contact with the ground, enabling the team to identify priority search zones for additional physical evidence nearby. Aaron ordered all data, including GPS coordinates, photographs, audio recordings, DNA results, footwear impressions, and soil samples, to be synchronously entered into Case Management System NV05121, with encrypted backups to ensure legal chain of custody integrity. The team prepared a detailed report of the 3D reconstruction process, including multi-angle screenshots, impact force diagrams, evidence distribution maps, and a video simulation of the vehicle's movement for subsequent investigative steps. During reconstruction, the simulation repeatedly showed the Bronco could not have rolled into the ravine unaided and required an excavator or lifting equipment, with pushing force concentrated at the rear and right side. Soil, dust, and fabric fibers on the undercarriage matched this force vector. Aaron noted that the simulation results strengthened the hypothesis that the vehicle was intentionally moved from Owen's garage to Red Rock Canyon and buried using an excavator, coinciding with the rental contract in Owen's name. The completed 3D reconstruction was assigned case number NV05121-3D, sealed and stored on the FBI server with restricted access limited to investigation team members while being prepared for submission in legal filings. Aaron compiled a list of critical locations requiring additional field examination, including adjacent crevices, tire tracks, and areas the 3D model predicted might still contain physical evidence. She also directed the team to perform a detailed comparison between the 3D model and the recovered audio, cross-referencing impact sounds and footsteps with the vehicle's simulated position to precisely establish the timeline of events on the night of August 22, 2005. Every step was documented in the investigative log, including timestamps, personnel, equipment used, and software versions, ensuring full legal auditability. Upon completion, Aaron summarized preliminary conclusions. The Bronco frame was deliberately pushed into the ravine and buried using an excavator location, movement direction, and supporting data from GPS, cameras, audio recordings, and the equipment rental contract all aligned. The Red Rock Canyon area remained a priority crime scene, requiring further searches for additional evidence. The 3D reconstruction was regarded as one of the most significant pieces of evidence since the case was reopened, providing scientific and visual foundation for continued investigation, solidifying the link between Owen Jameson, the vehicle, and the discovery location, and laying groundwork for future detention and prosecution phases in the Browning, Goldner case. Once the 3D reconstruction was finished, and the forensic results, GPS, camera, and excavator rental contract results all demonstrated a direct connection between Owen Jameson and the concealment of the Bronco at Red Rock Canyon, Aaron Delgado submitted a comprehensive investigative report to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Nevada, requesting approval of an emergency arrest warrant. The warrant was signed within 24 hours, charging obstruction of justice and evidence destruction under Title 18 of the United States Code. In the early morning of July 17, 2021, an FBI tactical team coordinated with Reno police executed the arrest plan at Owen's residence, a two-story house in the northern suburbs of the city. The operation was conducted in complete silence, with two SUVs parked approximately 30 meters away, tactical agents approaching from the front and side, while all access roads were sealed. Aaron was on scene in a supervisory capacity, monitoring the entire process via radio and body camera feeds. At 6:18 a.m., as Owen stepped into the driveway preparing to get into his car, agents moved in simultaneously, announced the warrant, and Miranda rights. He appeared shocked, attempted to remain calm, but was visibly flustered. Aaron personally served the arrest warrant, stating the grounds, "You are under arrest for destroying, moving, and concealing evidence related to the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner, in violation of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction statutes." Owen did not resist, only asked briefly, "Do I need a lawyer?" and was informed of his legal rights. Police conducted an on-site cursory search, seizing his cell phone, personal computers, hard drives, and financial documents, including a copy of the excavator rental contract with the local transportation company, dated to the exact period of Nicole and Ryan's disappearance. All seized items were sealed and coded NV05121Cs, then transferred to temporary evidence storage at Henderson PD. Aaron documented every detail in the investigative log, including time of arrest, subject condition, items seized, and initial reaction. After on-scene procedures were completed, Owen was placed in a transport vehicle and taken to the federal detention facility in Reno for initial interrogation and booking. In the execution report, Aaron noted, "Warrant execution occurred safely, no resistance, no injuries, all seized evidence intact." She simultaneously sent formal notification to the U.S. Attorney's Office District of Nevada, confirming Owen Jameson was in custody under federal warrant and exhibiting limited cooperation. Outside the residence, police maintained the perimeter and conducted additional searches to ensure no further evidence had been hidden or destroyed. The digital forensics team transported all electronic devices to the lab for data recovery, while Aaron left the scene and returned to the command center to compile the detailed execution report, including evidence inventory, participating personnel, timeline log, and photographic documentation of the arrest process. By 10 a.m., the official announcement was released. FBI arrests Owen Jameson, primary suspect in the Browning, Goldner disappearance case, on charges of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction. The news spread immediately through internal justice system channels, marking a major milestone in the 16-year pursuit of truth in the 2005 Henderson case. After Owen Jameson was taken into custody and transferred to the federal detention facility in Reno, Aaron Delgado immediately arranged for psychological evaluation and polygraph examination in accordance with protocol for complex criminal cases. The objective was to assess Owen's mental state, truthfulness, and physiological responses when questioned about details surrounding the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner. The examination took place in the FBI's Specialized Interrogation Suite, conducted by a federal behavioral analyst and certified polygraph examiner, supervised by Aaron and Owen's attorney. Prior to commencement, Owen was fully advised of his rights and the voluntary nature of the test and signed consent. Sensors were attached to his chest, arms, wrists, and fingers to measure heart rate, respiration, galvanic skin response, while a microphone analyzed voice, stress, and vocal tension placed in front of him. The test began with control questions regarding identity, place of birth, and basic information to establish baseline readings. Owen's heart rate and bodily responses remained stable during this phase. When questions shifted to the case, physiological changes became markedly pronounced. On the first case-related question, "Do you know where Nicole Browning disappeared?" the polygraph recorded a sudden spike in heart rate and skin conductance, indicating strong emotional response. When asked, "Did you meet Nicole on the night of August 22, 2005? Owen answered, "Yes, but only spoke briefly." Immediately afterward, the chart showed significant fluctuation in respiration and voice, with changes in volume and tremor, indicating high stress. Regarding Ryan Goldner, "Do you know what happened to Ryan after he left your house?" Owen's heart rate increased, palm sweat measurement spiked, and his voice dropped, reflecting heavy psychological response. When the examiner moved to specific questions about evidence tampering, "Did you ever move or change the position of your Bronco after that night?" Owen paused several seconds before answering, "No." His bodily responses showed the highest peak of the entire test, with dramatic galvanic skin response and voice tremor. Aaron observed from behind the one-way glass, noting every moment, particularly Owen's eyes when Nicole's name was mentioned, a fleeting mixture of fear and defensiveness. Upon completion, the polygraph examiner provided a preliminary conclusion that Owen exhibited multiple abnormal physiological responses when questioned about the victims, especially Nicole Browning, and was highly likely concealing information. The same day, Owen also underwent an independent voice stress analysis using technology that measures uncontrollable micro-tremors in speech. Results from voice stress corroborated the polygraph. Whenever questions mentioned Bronco, Red Rock Canyon, or garage, stress indicators spiked dramatically, whereas normal questions produced stable voice patterns. A combined 27-page report from both examiners was completed that day and delivered directly to Aaron and the U.S. Attorney's Office. The conclusion section stated, Owen Jameson displayed strong physiological and psychological responses when victims and crime scene were referenced. With stress indicators exceeding normal control thresholds, results indicate high probability the subject is withholding information or concealing actions. Aaron added her own observations to the report, noting Owen maintained high self-control, but his body betrayed clear emotional responses, especially upon hearing Nicole's name. Polygraph and voice stress data were backed up, encrypted, and stored in the FBI system under code NV05121 Poly, with the original sealed and a copy sent to Behavioral Analysis Unit for future interrogation planning. At the end of the day, Aaron held a brief meeting with legal and psychological experts, confirming that while polygraph results are not admissible as direct evidence in court, they are a critical investigative guidance tool. She noted in her log, Owen showed strong reaction when Nicole Browning was mentioned. Synchronized physiological and vocal response. Data reinforces suspicion of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction. The report became a significant addition to the Browning, Goldner case file, demonstrating a marked shift in Owen Jameson's demeanor and psychological responses when confronted with evidence and memories of the night of August 22, 2005. Following completion of Owen Jameson's psychological evaluation and polygraph examination, Erin Delgado entered the criminal prosecution preparation phase. She spent more than 2 weeks reviewing the entire case file, linking every piece of evidence collected throughout the reinvestigation. From DNA matches to Nicole Browning in the garage and on the Bronco frame, the excavator rental contract in Owen's name, security camera footage showing the vehicle leaving the house in the early morning hours, GPS data confirming travel toward Red Rock Canyon, recovered audio containing impact sounds and voices within the same window phone's lost signal, to former police chief Don Harver's statement admitting he withheld a 2005 report expressing suspicion of Owen, all were organized into a seamless chain of events, proving intentional concealment and destruction of evidence. Aaron compiled a comprehensive report exceeding 300 pages, divided into 5 main sections: physical evidence, digital data, witness statements, forensic results, and behavioral analysis. She worked continuously with the FBI legal team and federal prosecutors, scrutinizing every detail to ensure legality, chain of custody, and persuasiveness before a jury. The 3D crime scene reconstructions, GPS diagrams, and audio waveform charts were presented visually to demonstrate time and location alignment across all evidence. Aaron also requested additional testing from the Clark County Forensic Lab on garage soil samples containing desert sand, confirming identical mineral composition to Red Rock Canyon samples, further strengthening the direct location link. The FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit report was attached, identifying psychological traits typical of offenders under stress, consistent with Owen's polygraph and voice stress reactions. Once the complete file was finished, Aaron submitted it to the Clark County District Attorney's Office for grand jury indictment approval. The hearing took place in a tense atmosphere, attended by FBI representatives, federal prosecutors, and digital forensics experts. Aaron summarized the investigation progress, screened the 3D simulation of the vehicle burial process, and cross-referenced DNA and digital results. Each piece of evidence was detailed with origin, collection date, and sealing procedure to guarantee integrity. She emphasized that although the victims' bodies had not been recovered, the chain of data and physical evidence was sufficient to prove intentional concealment of a crime, evidence destruction, and obstruction of justice. After nearly 4 hours of presentation, the Clark County Grand Jury deliberated in closed session. In the decision signed August 9, 2021, the jury unanimously approved criminal indictment of Owen Jameson on primary charges of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction, while noting the possibility of expanded investigation into conduct related to the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner. Aaron received the official approval and grand jury minutes, marking the case transition from investigation to prosecution. She immediately notified the U.S. Attorney's Office and Nevada State Police, updating the FBI system status from active investigation to criminal prosecution pending. All evidence, from DNA, cameras, GPS, audio recordings, Harvard's statement to psychological evaluations, was sealed as a complete set and transferred to the high-security evidence vault at Clark County Court for trial preparation. In the final entry of this investigative phase, Aaron wrote, "All links have closed. Technical data and physical evidence form an unbroken chain. Grand jury has approved criminal indictment of Owen Jameson, the Browning. Goldner case has officially entered the courtroom phase. The trial of Owen Jameson opened at Clark County District Court in early November 2021. Nearly 16 years after the disappearance of Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner. The courtroom was packed with FBI representatives, investigators, reporters, and members of the public who had followed the case for years. Lead prosecutor, Catherine Rowe, delivered the opening statement first, declaring that the case was no longer an unsolved mystery, but the result of 16 years of evidence pursuit, in which forensic science and digital data had resurrected the entire chain of events buried beneath Nevada sand. She screened the 3D reconstruction of the Broncos' journey from Owen's garage to the Red Rock Canyon ravine, simultaneously displaying side-by-side 2005 security camera frames showing the vehicle leaving the garage in the pre-dawn hours, timestamps perfectly matching the recovered GPS and audio data. The prosecution then presented DNA results, blood and hair in the garage, matching Nicole Browning, garage soil containing Red Rock Canyon desert minerals, and the excavator rental contract in Owen's name, coinciding with the burial time frame. All were presented as an unmistakable chain linking suspect, victims, and crime scene. The prosecution emphasized, no accident buries a vehicle nearly 2 meters deep in a crevice 15 miles from the suspect's home. This was deliberate, calculated, and carefully executed. When the prosecution rested its opening, defense attorney Robert Kingsley rose to object, arguing the entire case rested on technical speculation, with no bodies, no direct witnesses, and no proof of cause of death. He claimed the prosecution relied on circumstantial evidence restored through modern technology that could be flawed due to digitization processes. Kingsley pointed out that 2005 GPS systems had limited accuracy and DNA results could be environmentally compromised after many years. He moved to exclude all technical evidence as incapable of proving specific criminal conduct. The prosecution countered that accuracy had been verified through 3 independent systems: GPS, cell tower pings, and cameras, and every DNA sample and piece of evidence had been preserved according to standards and verified by 3 separate laboratories. Aaron Delgado was called as an expert witness, detailing the reinvestigation process from recovery of the Nevada Digital Archive data to discovery of the Bronco frame, DNA analysis, and 3D reconstruction. She explained in detail how physical, digital, and testimonial evidence combined into a logical proof chain, with every dataset aligning in time, location, and action. The jury was provided detailed timelines showing Owen's movements, coincidence with Nicole and Ryan's phone signal loss, and forensic results supporting intentional burial. When asked why no remains had been found, Aaron explained that Red Rock Canyon terrain changes over time due to erosion and rock slides, but the vehicle discovery, DNA, and blood evidence constituted clear proof of criminal conduct. Kingsley continued to challenge, claiming Aaron and the team were inferring intent from data. He stated his client had cooperated throughout the investigation, never fled, and the excavator rental could have been for building a home gym, unrelated to any crime. He asked the court to reconsider all technical data because modern technology can recreate something not entirely truthful. In the final rebuttal, prosecutor Catherine Rowe stated, "Science does not invent human intent, but it recovers what humans try to hide. Data does not lie. It only repeats what actually happened. Her words echoed through the courtroom, closing nearly 3 weeks of intense trial, in which every piece of evidence, image, and number had been dissected to the smallest detail. When the judge's gavel fell announcing recess, a heavy atmosphere filled the room. Then, the 12-member jury was escorted into a secure, isolated deliberation room within the Clark County Supreme Court's restricted area to begin discussions and vote on the verdict. All cell phones, recording devices, and any materials outside the official case file were confiscated to ensure the independence of the deliberation process. On the table lay thick stacks of case files containing copies of every piece of evidence, from crime scene photographs, GPS data, 3D maps, DNA analysis results, to audio recordings and the excavator rental contract. The jury was instructed to consider 2 charges, obstruction of justice and evidence destruction, while evaluating the validity, logical consistency, and direct connection between the scientific evidence and Owen Jameson's actions. Deliberations began in a heavy atmosphere. Some jurors expressed reservations due to the no-body issue, while others insisted the chain of physical, technical, and DNA evidence was compelling enough to prove intentional concealment of a crime. A retired female juror who had worked in technology asked to review the GPS map and 3D reconstruction again, pointing out that the direction of travel, the point where the signal disappeared, and the location where the vehicle was found aligned perfectly, ruling out coincidence. She also highlighted that the engine oil and soil samples, matching both Owen's garage and Red Rock Canyon, could not be random. Another juror, formerly in the justice system, recalled the testimony of former police chief Don Harver, who admitted withholding a 2005 report expressing suspicion of Owen, and argued that had that information been disclosed earlier, the case might not have dragged on for 16 years. They agreed that withholding information and altering GPS data constituted clear evidence of intent to obstruct the investigation. After nearly 3 hours of analysis, the jury requested to replay the restored audio recording from the Bronco. When the sound of the impact and Nicole's faint cries echoed through the speakers, the room fell silent. One juror whispered, "We don't need to see a body, we just heard the truth." That statement shifted the mood, focusing attention more firmly on the technical evidence chain rather than the absence of direct eyewitnesses. The jurors then re-examined the DNA reports, blood in the garage matching Nicole's hair on the vehicle carpet, matching Nicole, and red fabric fibers consistent with the athletic top she wore. The day she vanished. One by one they spoke. Many admitted they had initially doubted technology could replace human witnesses, but after cross-checking every data point, there was no reasonable explanation other than Owen actively concealing the incident. The foreperson asked each juror to state their individual assessment of the 2 charges. The first vote returned 8-4 in favor of guilty on both counts. The 4 holdouts requested further discussion about the reliability of the technical data. A data specialist on the panel explained in detail that the GPS results had been corroborated by 3 independent sources and that the digital evidence had been validated by multiple federal agencies with a margin of error under 100 meters. After that explanation, 2 jurors changed their votes. The count was now 10-2. Discussion continued for another hour, centered on the key question: does the absence of a body render the charges legally unsound? One juror cited precedent in American no-body homicide convictions, noting juries may convict when circumstantial evidence surpasses reasonable doubt. The remaining holdouts agreed the Browning, Goldner case met that threshold, given the objective collection and verification of scientific and physical evidence. Finally, at 7:45 p.m., the jury took its final vote. Result: 12-0 guilty on both counts of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction against Owen Jameson. The verdict form was completed on the spot, signed by all 12 jurors, sealed and handed to the court clerk for delivery to the judge. Before leaving the room, the foreperson read the jury's collective note aloud: the chain of scientific evidence, DNA, GPS data, surveillance footage, and 3D reconstruction is deemed reliable and directly linked to the defendant's actions. The absence of a body does not diminish the legal weight of the physical and technical proof. When the deliberation room door opened, hallway light spilled in. The jurors emerged one by one, faces somber, footsteps echoing slowly in the now silent courthouse. Every eye in the courtroom followed them as the verdict form was handed to the clerk. Minutes later, the faint scrape of a chair sounded as presiding Judge Eleanor Strauss rose to the bench holding the newly unsealed verdict. She read each line clearly, confirming the jury had unanimously found Owen Jameson guilty of obstruction of justice and evidence destruction. However, after reviewing the entire record, testimony, forensic results, and defendant background, the court reclassified part of the charges to manslaughter by negligence, finding that while Owen had not proven premeditated murder, sufficient evidence existed to hold him directly responsible for Nicole Browning's death and the subsequent cover-up. Prosecutor Catherine Rowe summarized the inescapable factors: GPS logs, surveillance footage, DNA, and the excavator contract proved Owen personally transported, buried, and erased evidence. The restored Bronco audio revealed a physical collision and Nicole's voice. And Owen's physiological responses during the polygraph examination reinforced that his actions were not accidental. When asked if he wished to speak before sentencing, Owen replied briefly, "I never meant to hurt her." Everything spiraled out of control. Defense counsel Robert Kingsley asked the court to consider a lighter sentence, stressing the absence of a body, no confirmed cause of death, and his client's cooperation throughout the investigation. Judge Strauss listened silently, then ruled. The court acknowledges the defendant's cooperation, but cannot overlook the consequences of his conduct. Nicole Browning's death resulted from loss of control, and the burial, data alteration, and destruction of evidence were deliberate acts. The gravity of this case lies not in the immediacy of the act, but in 16 years of prolonged silence and obstruction of justice. She pronounced the formal sentence: the defendant, Owen Jameson, is adjudged guilty of manslaughter by negligence and obstruction of justice. Sentence: 20 years imprisonment in a federal correctional facility in Nevada, with no possibility of parole or sentence reduction for the first 10 years. Owen stood motionless, staring straight ahead. In the row behind, the Browning family representative bowed their head, tears falling silently. Prosecutor Rowe filed a motion for the court to freeze Owen's assets to cover investigation costs and civil damages, and requested the entire case file be preserved as a training model for the state's cold case investigation program. Judge Strauss granted both requests and ordered case NV-05-121 officially closed, confirming the Browning-Goldner matter resolved. All physical exhibits, the Bronco frame, audio recording, DNA samples, and 3D reconstruction, were permanently sealed and transferred to the Federal Archives Center in Las Vegas. Erin Delgado was present in the courtroom and wrote the final line in her investigation journal. Verdict delivered. Browning, Goldner case closed. As she left the courthouse, she paused in the corridor, gazing at the desert light filtering through thick glass, feeling a heavy yet resolute weight lift. After 16 years, the Henderson disappearance had journeyed from hopeless suspicion to a truth proven by science, and justice, though late, had finally been served. Before adjourning, Judge Strauss added, "The court recognizes the advances in forensic science and the tireless efforts of investigators. Justice does not vanish, it only awaits sufficient evidence to appear." She struck the gavel 3 times and declared, "Case NV-05-121 is officially concluded." Everyone in the courtroom rose. In that moment of silence, the only sound was the soft closing of case folders. The sound of a 16-year chapter in Nevada judicial history coming to an end. Immediately after the sentence was pronounced and file NV-05-121 officially closed, Erin Delgado spent more than 2 weeks in the FBI's Las Vegas office, finalizing the comprehensive investigative report, a nearly 400-page internal document that served both as an operational record and a historical summary of what was now regarded as a model case for integrating modern forensic technology with cold cases over 15 years old. Divided into 8 main chapters, the report was written meticulously by Aaron, detailing timelines, investigative phases, evidence catalogs, investigator identities, collaborating agencies, and lessons learned from Browning, Goldner. The opening chapter recounted the full timeline from Nicole Browning and Ryan Goldner's disappearance on August 22, 2005, to Owen Jameson's 2021 arrest, describing how the case evolved through initial investigation, searches, deadlock, archiving, reactivation, and prosecution. Aaron analyzed the 2005 procedural errors, failure to thoroughly search Red Rock Canyon, not retrieving Owen's GPS data, and especially former Chief Don Harver's withholding of suspicion reports from the official file, delaying the investigation for years. She stressed these shortcomings stemmed from both human factors and the technological limitations of the era, when GPS systems, surveillance storage, and DNA analysis lacked today's precision, and digital evidence preservation standards were not yet uniform. In Chapter 3, Aaron described 2021 forensic technology as the pivotal turning point, from the Digital Archive Nevada project, recovering GPS and cell tower data, AI software restoring audio recordings, to the 3D forensic reconstruction system that accurately recreated travel paths, impact force, and burial location. She emphasized that without these technological advances and interagency coordination among forensic, digital, and geological sciences, the case might have remained forever unsolved. The report devoted many pages to the shift in investigative mindset. Rather than relying solely on eyewitnesses, investigators learned to let the data speak, treating every signal, coordinate sequence, or checksum error as a piece of physical evidence. Aaron wrote, "In the past, technology was a supporting tool. Today, it has become the witness." Chapter 5 closely examined human factors, particularly cooperation across generations of investigators, from Harver, who erred but later provided the 2005 Red Rock map, to the young engineers and technicians of the Digital Archive Nevada project, who discovered the tampered GPS checksums. Aaron noted this as a textbook example of how a cold case can be revived when experience meets modern technology. In the forensic conclusion, she listed the primary evidence groups that secured conviction: Nicole Browning's DNA in the garage and Bronco, matching engine oil, Red Rock desert soil, restored audio of the collision timed with phone signal loss, early morning surveillance images, the excavator contract in Owen's name, and polygraph reactions when the victim was mentioned. This data chain was presented as a legal timeline, proof that justice can be reconstructed through scientific evidence even when human witnesses fall silent. Aaron also addressed the legal aspect of conviction without a body, noting this as one of Nevada's most significant rulings in the past decade, paving the way for acceptance of digital data as valid evidence in criminal courts. The final chapter contained policy recommendations, including a unified federal digital archiving system integrating GPS, surveillance, and cell tower records for missing persons cases, plus intensive training in electronic evidence preservation for local agencies. She further proposed mandatory cross-checking of GPS and surveillance footage within the first 72 hours of a missing person report, a measure that could have saved Nicole and Ryan if implemented in 2005. Upon completion, Aaron signed the last line, Case NV-05-121. Status: closed with conviction. The report was sealed and forwarded to the U.S. Department of Justice and the National Forensic Training Center at Quantico as study material. On November 29, 2021, the FBI case management system officially changed the status from cold case active investigation to closed with conviction. All physical evidence was transferred to the Las Vegas Central Evidence Center and permanently sealed. Aaron kept a digital copy in her personal files with a brief journal note. "No case is ever truly closed. Justice just moves slower than data." After 16 years, the Browning, Goldner file had completed the full life cycle of a criminal case, from disappearance, investigation, impasse, revival, to conviction, leaving both a legal precedent and a profound lesson for Nevada's justice system. Sometimes justice resides not in eyewitnesses or confessions, but in silent data chains that can still tell the truth when the living no longer can. The Browning-Goldner case in this story is not merely a 16-year quest for truth. It is a mirror reflecting modern American society, where justice, technology, and human ethics continually collide. At its core lie the initial 2005 mistakes, when Henderson police overlooked GPS data, failed to fully process the scene, and former Chief Don Harver withheld suspicion reports about Owen Jameson. Those errors reflect a troubling reality in today's investigative system. Human beings can still delay truth through bias or technical limitations. Yet by 2021, advances in forensic technology, the Digital Archive Nevada project, and data recovery tools had brought justice back, demonstrating the power of science when properly applied. It was the partnership between people like Aaron Delgado, who trusted objective evidence and technology, that allowed America to reaffirm faith in the rule of law. The story also carries a profound message about individual responsibility in modern society. Justice cannot exist if people are not honest and willing to face the consequences of their actions. Owen Jameson's choice to conceal rather than accept responsibility mirrors the ongoing moral challenges Americans face. Power, image, and silence can prolong evil. The real-world lesson from this case is that in a data-driven society, every action leaves a trace, and technology can recover truth no matter how much time passes. Truth may be buried, but as Browning-Goldner proves, it will always find its way back to the light if there are still those determined to pursue it to the end. If you believe justice never dies, only waits to be awakened, please subscribe so we can continue together exposing long-buried mysteries. Thank you for following the Browning-Goldner case. See you in the next episode, where even the smallest piece of data can change an entire truth.